Good afternoon. Myself Karthikeyan, Assistant Professor, Department of Computer Science Engineering, Government College of Engineering, Sengipati, Tanjavur. So here, I think in a previous video, we had a discussion on if you want to implement any, if you want to implement the concept of security principle inside of the organization for securing information. So we have, first of all, we have to provide a different kind of security principles. Security investigation we need to look on. And the next thing is, and what are the different type of threats and attacks as possible for implementation. Here, just I'm going to talk about, I'm going to talking about what are the different kind of laws and ethics need to be followed in order to make secure information in an organization. The first of all, we must know what is law. So law is a rule that makes make a mandate or prohibit certain behaviors in an organization, and this behavior must be drawn from ethics, which is socially accepted behaviors. Normally, the rule means that it is a socially accepted behaviors inside of the, which is defined for accepted by that, which inside of the organization it is called as a law. And the ethics means that it is socially accepted behaviors, and there are a different type of laws. So based on the coverage of the organization, it will be classified as a civil law, criminal law, and as well as it is a tort law. It is a civil law. Normally, it is a civil law means that it is a wide variety of law that covers the nature or state. Then it will be called as a civil law. The next one is called as a criminal law. Criminal means this, it addresses the violation or harmful to the society, and it is actively enforced through prosecution by the state. And the third one is called as a tort law. Actually, this tort law is applicable for individual to seek resources against the other in the event of personal or physical or financial injury. So these are the three type of laws. It's based on the coverage, and based on the location it will affect. It will be classified into two. One is called as a private law, another one is called as a public law. So private law means that it regulates the relationship between the individuals and the organization, and it encompasses based on the family, commercial, and labor. So that private law, that's a private, it is looking at relationship between individuals and their organization. It mainly focus on the including the family and also the commercial and as well as labor law. For a public law, actually it regulates the structure and the administration of a government agencies and the relationship with the citizens, employees, and other governments. I repeat once again, the public law, it mainly to focus on the structure and the administration of the government agencies and their relationship with their citizens, employees, and governments. It is coming under public law. So normally that the information security laws is mainly focused on the US. So because the US is the leader for development and implementation of information security in order to prevent the misuse and exploitation of the information and information technologies. So the most important law, the first one is for reducing the for focusing on computer crimes. So the first one is a general computer crime law, that is called General Computer Crime Law. The first one is called a Computer Fraud and Abuse Act of 1986. It will be short form we call as a CFA Act. Actually, this is CFA Act mainly to focus on computer related federal laws and enforced effects. So if there is something crime is happened, and what are the action that is possible. And the next one is called the National Information Infrastructure Protection Act of 1996. Actually, it will be modified by October 1996. So it is changes some actions inside of CFA Act, and it is means that it will be for some actions. It increases the penalty. So there is some penalties there now for every action. So that here for some actions the penalty of the actions may be increased. And the next one is called USA Patriot Act of 2001. Actually, that this act, it is mainly to focus on compact terrorism related activities and communication activities. This is the activities related to the Telecommunication Deregulation and Competition Act of 1996. And the next one is called as Computer Security Act of 1987. Normally, this is the first law which is established for providing the security principles for storing, transmitting, and processing the information. So these are the 5 possible laws which is mainly to cover for handling a computer crimes. And the next one is for the laws which is handled for the privacy. The privacy means that it is a state of being free from unsanctioned intrusion. One is called a Federal Privacy Act of 1974. It regulates the government agencies to protect the individual privacy and the Electronic Communication Privacy of Act 1998. So actually, it is a collection of statutes that regulates the interception of via electronic materials and oral communications. And the third one is called as a Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996. So actually it mainly to focus on the confidentiality and security for healthcare data. So that the major principle of this act is it will be consumer control of medical information, and also they have a limited to use the information of the medical information, and accountability for the privacy of private informations, the balance or the public responsibility for the use of medical information, and the security of health informations. So these three laws is mainly to focus on the privacy of the person, the privacy things. It may be individual or maybe a privacy of the organization. And the next one is called as international issues. That is called Export and Espionage Law. That is called Economic Espionage Act. That is called EEA in 1996. Actually, it mainly to focus on to prevent the trade secrets from illegally shared. So that when the trade secrets, it monitor those activities. And the next one is called Security and Freedom and through Encryption Act of 1996. So actually, it mainly to provide the guidelines for the use of encryption methodology and also to provide the measure of protection from the government interventions. And the next one is for avoid the copyright issues. That is called US copyright laws. Actually, we know that is IP, that is intellectual property is recognized as a protected asset in the United States. That is here, I already have mentioned that this laws, everything is focused only on US because the US is the first country is trying to implement the concept of information security. So one is called as the Sarbanes-Oxley Act of 2002. Actually, this law will mainly to focus on the reliability and accuracy of financial reporting. And for a Freedom of Information Act of 1966, that is called FOIA, it allows the person to request and access the federal agency records or informations. Next one is called State and Local Regulation. That is called Geographical Computer System Production Act. Product the information for the penalty for the use of informations. The next one is called as the International Laws and the Legal Bodies. There are some of the councils are there for providing the different security principles, security standards. One is called as the European Council Computer Crime Convention 2001. Actually, this is a council, that is this body to provide a creation for international task force oversees the range of security function associated with the internet activities for the standard technology laws across international policies. It means that it defines some set of standards in order to provide the security functionalities which is related with your internet activities. And the next one is called as Digital Millennium Act. That is called Digital Millennium Act. There is a Copyright Act that is called DMCA. That is called, it provides only for the American people. That is called Contribution to the International Effort to the Reduction of Copyright, Trademark and Piracy Infringement. That means that it provides only for copyright production. And the third one is called as a United Nations Character. It's a character. That means that it makes a provision for the information security during information warfare. That means that involves the use of technology by for independent state to conduct the organization and military operations. Okay, so the next two these are the some of the laws which provide which controls that control the problem of misuse of information. The next thing is that is called what are the some of the agencies we have for ethics and information security. So normally the many professional groups have the rules normally to apply in ethical places, so that there are so that some kind of ethical accepted behavior we need to define. So that this ethical defined some of the agencies are there in order to define some standards or some accepted behaviors inside of the organization. One is ethical differences across the culture. Second one, software license infringement. Illicit means that this ethical codes which covers the following areas. One is ethical differences across the culture. Next one is a software license infringement, and third one is called illicit use, and the next one is called misuse of corporate resources, and next one is ethics and education and a deterrence to unethical and illegal behavior. So these are the some of the major areas of the ethical codes need to be defined by the Association for Computing Machinery and the Information System Security Association and Accreditation. Okay, so the first one is ethical differences across cultures. So we know that the culture differences make it difficult to determine what is ethical. So always everyone have their own ethic. I mean, some behaviors. So whenever you are going to use your computer, we need to define these are the behavior is acceptable. So that we have to define that we have to define these are the behavior is acceptable. These behaviors it will be called as a violator. So that we have to define the proper ethical behavior inside of the organization. And the next one is called a software license implement, that is called mainly to focus on software piracy, so that if you are not following that, we are not using that licensed version, so what type of action you are going to take it. And the next one is called illicit use. It mainly to focus on the virus, hacking and other form of system abuse. And the next one is misuse of corporate resources. Using non-company use of resource corporate assets without specifying the company policy on personal use of the company resources. And ethics and education. So we know that the attitude towards the ethics of computer use of affected by many factors other than that your nationality. So that we are going to provide a proper ethical and legal training for every member in an organization have information, and also that the risk will be minimized. And the next one is a deterrence to unethical behaviors. One is called ignorance. Ignorance is that ignorance of law is no excuse. So we must educate for every organization people, so they must to know the policy and law about the organization. And then accident, that is called that individuals with authorization and privilege to manage the information with the organization to cause harm or damage. Next called intent, so that the individual perform some action, it may be a criminal action, so it must be protected, and they need to have a proper technical conduct in order to avoid the concept of those actions. And the next one is called as a deterrence. Actually, this is the best method for preventing an illegal activity. Actually, this one is a fear. I mean, that the conditions. One is the fear of penalty, and the probability of being catched, and the probability of penalty being administered. Okay, so the next one is called Code of Ethics and Professional Organization. So actually, it defines the ethics for the organization, which the people and must to follow within that workplace. So that each and every organization must to set the policy, procedures and laws in order to implement the security in an organization. For one is for a professional organization in IT. There are three. One is called ACM. Another one is called ISC. That is called International Information System Security Certificate Consortium. Next one is for administrative related activity, that is called System Administration Networking and Security Institute. And the next one is called Information System Audit and Control Association. These are some of the agencies, they are providing some certification courses on these activities, so that once in order to implement the concept of if you want to train any employee, all the employee must to have a certification on these areas. And now another one more, that is called Information System Security Association. That is called, next one is a key US federal agencies. So here the product, so here we are going to, this is mainly to focus on production of information resources, and also we have to think on the threats and attacks. So in that, and that the first two, there are different type of organizations. One is a Department of Homeland Security, that is called, next one is called a National Infrared Program and National Security Agency. Next one is called a US Secret Service. And these are some of the organizations, they are providing the services for protecting the informations in that organizations. Thank you.